Hey, sweet friends, welcome. This is Gina, and you are watching the Rebookery channel. I'm going to do a process in my little swatch book that I have going on here. If you remember, it started off with like watercolors and some gouache swatches, and then I've kind of moved into some acrylic swatches. So today I'm going to do an acrylic swatch because I want to share with you this really cool blending technique that I figured out quite by accident. So I did a trial of, it was the chalk markers by Arteza. I'll link the video below. They asked me if I would use their markers and then do a review, and I did. And then there's a discount code that you can use, and I'll link all of that below. But anyway, when I did the first review, I told you guys that they were not waterproof, and it kind of bummed me out. And then I figured out there's a way to make that work in your favor. So what I did here was I took a blank page that I had already put some clear gesso on the bottom of or on the page. And then what I did was I took these markers and I just did a bunch of scribbles. And I didn't like make sure I overlapped or anything. I left some white spaces. And then I took the clear gesso again, and I'm just using Liquitex clear gesso. And I poured some on the page, took a wide brush and just kind of blended it in. And as I did that, all of those scribbles actually blended into a really cool background. So I discovered this yesterday quite by accident, and I absolutely love it. So I've been doing a few pages where I'm using this blending technique. The cool thing about that also is that once I put that second coat of gesso on top, then that background will stay put, and now I can do some more art over top of it. So what I'm doing here is a color combination that I love, love, love. It's like a cobalt blue, and then like a periwinkle with some soft pinks and like a seafoam green. And I just love this color combination. And so I thought I would play around with those colors today and see what kind of magic I could create. Now I'm gonna do full disclosure here, guys. I go overboard on this spread. I just could not stop because there was just so many cool things I wanted to do with these colors. So I'm just taking some different markers here. Some of them are Sharpie, some of them are the Arteza, and I think there's some other ones. There's some Sakuras, just whatever markers I have. And I'm just making a lot of marks on this background. I love this process because there is something so satisfying about dragging a marker across a gessoed page. I don't know what it is, but it just, the sound, the pull, the resistance that you have of the gesso versus the tip of the marker, it's just, I don't know, there's nothing like it. It just really, it feels therapeutic to do, and then to watch these colors go over top, especially of a dark color like this. It's just really, I love it. It's just such a fun process. So in this color palette, I'm thinking of flowers, and I have some fabrics and some wrapping paper that are kind of my inspiration for this, this color palette that I've got going on. So in my mind, I'm going to make these flowers that go along with these marks so that I can tie in some of these remnants of fabric that I have. But you'll see it actually, the flowers don't really become the center stage by the time I finish this, which is okay because it's all a part of the process, and I'm totally fine with that. And like I said, these marks are just so much fun to make. I just love dots and lines and scribbles, and they don't have to mean anything. They're just there to show some color and some contrast and some interest. So I'm going to take some different purples, and these are just some acrylic paints. Most of them are craft paints, and I'm just going to paint some petals on this flower. So I've been working with the art teacher at my school. He's such an awesome guy, and he has been helping me a lot with like light and dark and perspective and things like that. So I'm just kind of practicing in this journal with those things that he's been showing me. And you can see that I'm not in anything other than just a practice stage. There's there's not a lot of finesse. And when I think I have something really good, I'll go and add something else to it, and I'm like, ooh, I don't know why I did that. So it's okay, because that's what this is all about. This is play and this is practice, and how else are you going to become better if you don't make mistakes and learn from your mistakes? And yeah, that's the whole point. So I'm just kind of playing around with some different light and dark, so some different values of the purples, and trying to pick up different amounts of white and different amounts of dark, and just kind of seeing what it does on that flower. And so again, like I said, it's okay to make mistakes, and I've never made a mistake that I couldn't fix or didn't turn into something that was actually pretty cool. So I'm totally all right with all of this craziness that's going on. Again, this is just about the process. The art of making art is actually, to me, more important than the art itself. And I like to do art because it's a place for me to get my feelings out, to get a lot of the stuff that's in my head out onto paper, to get in touch with my playful side when life can be pretty stressful and everything's so serious. Art is just a good, fun way to play, to be silly, to kind of just be a child again. And I love that. And so that's why I'm okay with slapping these things down and not really worrying about the end product. And really, guys, for this journal, this is all about inspiration. So I'm making this journal as kind of like a color inspiration journal, where I can flip through, and if I'm ever stuck or in a rut, I can flip through and get inspired by some different color combinations that I've put together and that I love. So this one is going to be, like I said, a cobalt and a periwinkle with some seafoam greens and some pinks. And I need to put some neutrals in there. So I'm going to add just a little bit of white. I'm going to add some black. And then I'm also going to use that, that khaki color. It's in that ribbon up there in the top right-hand corner. But I'm also going to pull in a really old, I think it's like 1939, piece of ledger paper. And I keep trying to find a place to put it. I ultimately find a place, and I want to use that because, one, I love the just the ledger paper itself, but the other reason is because I love the color of that ledger paper, and it has a number 62 written on it, and the 62 is written in kind of a blue color. And to me, those two things go really, really well with this page. I just like that neutral. And so I'm going to, actually, I take it over to my sewing machine if I haven't already added it on here, because when I do the voiceover, I can't see the whole video, so I can't tell. The bottom left-hand corner is cut off, so I can't tell if I've already added it or not. Nope, I don't think I've added it. Okay, so here I'm going to add it here in just a second, and I take it over to my sewing machine, and the paper is so old, it is falling apart, so I stitch it together, and then I place it down in that left-hand corner. Again, I'm just playing around with marks here, not really worried too much about what it's going to look like when I finish. I just want to see all the different color combinations together. I also want to see how my markers work and how the paint plays off of the markers, and which markers are going to be opaque and which markers are going to be more transparent or translucent. Oh, not transparent, sorry, translucent. And so I'm just kind of playing around. And now I think I'm going to go back in with some blue, because I want to get back to the original background. And so I'm going to go through with some blue, and I'm going to end up and add some black. And you'll see that here in just a few minutes. I'm adding a little detail with my white pen and just kind of playing around. This is, I know I've told you guys this before, but this is mindless doodling is what I used to call it. But now I'm thinking it's more mindful doodling, because when I doodle, and when I doodle is usually when I come home from school and my brain is just a mess. I sit down with markers, pens, and I just start to make marks. And those marks are so powerful in getting me recharged, in getting me to process the day, kind of getting me to get into home mode, because, you know, after being at work all day long, I'm sure you guys understand, it's hard to switch. It's hard to switch gears when you are in one mode and then all of a sudden you got to switch over to mom mode or home mode or cooking dinner mode. It's tough to get those gears to switch. So instead of this being mindless doodling, I've actually started calling it mindful doodling, because it really does clear some space in your head. And it's never about the finished product. It's always about the process and just listening to the marker as it hits the page, checking out the color combinations, seeing what happens when you move the pen this way, when you hold it sideways, when you write straight up and down. There's all kinds of cool things that you can get from just making these crazy little marks and doing all kinds of just little doodles. And you can see my doodling skills are pretty much lines and circles, and that is a-okay. I don't ever intend on drawing people or, you know, anything like that. I'm going to keep it really, really simple. Okay, so the last part that I'm going to put here on this journal is I'm just going back to the darkest blue paint that I had, and I'm just going to put some circles and kind of filling it in a little bit with one of those markers. And now I'm going to take some India ink. And I've had this India ink for a while, so it's really thick. So I was kind of having trouble putting it around, just kind of painting it around those circles. So once I get the India ink on here, and it's really, really dark black, I'm going to then take my spray bottle, because I don't know, I just feel like I need to make it a little messier. Take my spray bottle, put a couple of sprays, and I let the ink drip down. And I love the effect, especially as the ink dripped through my little paper swatch in the bottom left-hand corner. All right, my friends, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you are healthy. I hope you are happy. I hope you do something creative. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.